When Emergency exploded onto the screen, it didn't just tell the story of rescue heroes, it ignited a fire of emotion in the hearts of millions of viewers in the 1970s. But behind the familiar smiles of the cast lay dark secrets, shocking scandals, sudden deaths, and lives shattered in the shadows of Hollywood. Get ready to be drawn into the untold stories of the stars of Emergency and to honor what they left behind. Let's dive in. Julie London as Dixie McCall, RN. Julie London, born Julie Peck, was born on September 26, 1926, in Santa Rosa, California. When she was 46 years old, she took on the role of Nurse Dixie McCall in Emergency, 1972 to 1979, becoming the heart of the emergency room, always keeping calm in moments of life and death. This role not only earned her a Golden Globe nomination, but also made Julie an icon of compassion on screen. However, behind the glamour, Julie's life was filled with unspoken sorrow. Her first marriage to Jack Webb had once been full of passion thanks to their shared love for jazz, but it soon ended in divorce in 1954. Afterward, Julie fought to return to the screen, reclaiming herself through tough roles like in Man of the West, 1958, where she played the only woman among a brutal gang, enduring both physical and emotional torment. What seemed like a second chance at love with musician Bobby Troup, whom she married in 1959, promised peace. But when the two appeared together on Emergency, their private life became weighed down by professional pressures and the harsh expectations of Hollywood. She became so strongly associated with the image of Dixie that her attempts to land new roles, as in Saddle the Wind, 1958, became increasingly futile as she was typecast. Her greatest tragedy came when her daughter, Stacy, died in a car accident in 1996, just one day after Julie's 70th birthday, leaving a grief beyond words. Julie herself struggled with illness. Addicted to cigarettes since she was 16, she suffered a stroke in 1995 and was diagnosed with lung cancer at the end of 1999, but she declined treatment as her health was already too weak. On the night of October 17th and into the early hours of October 18th, 2000, she passed away at the hospital after a sudden bout of breathing difficulty at the age of 74. Julie was cremated and laid to rest beside Bobby Troup at Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles. She left behind an estate worth about $2 million, largely from royalties for timeless songs like Cry Me a River and real estate holdings in Encino. Bobby Troup as Dr. Joe Early. Bobby Troup, whose full name was Robert William Troup, Jr., was born on October 18, 1918, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. When he was 54 years old, he joined Emergency, 1972 to 1979, as Dr. Joe Early, a character beloved by viewers for his dedication and composure during tense medical emergencies. The role made Troup a familiar face to TV audiences, but it also pushed him into a stressful phase of his career. Before Emergency, Troup had enjoyed major musical success with hits like Route 66 and Daddy, but by the 1960s, his music career was fading. His attempts to revive his name through works like The Gene Krupa Story, 1959, where he portrayed bandleader Tommy Dorsey, or MASH, 1970, in which he played a disillusioned soldier, only highlighted the challenges he faced in acting. Off-screen, Bobby lived under silent pressure as his fame was increasingly eclipsed by that of his wife, Julie London, especially after she became a television icon as Dixie McCall, his colleague on Emergency. Their marriage, seemingly an ideal union of two talents, carried many hidden burdens. They appeared together on screen and on stage, but behind the scenes were the fatigue of unfair comparisons, the gap in career appeal, and Troup's quiet sacrifices. He had worked hard to help Julie restart her singing career with the hit Cry Me a River, but in the end, he himself struggled to find his place as both the music and acting worlds gradually closed their doors to him. In his later years, his health steadily declined. On February 7, 1999, he died of a heart attack at his home in Sherman Oaks, closing the chapter on an 80-year life filled with ambition and hardship. He left an estate of about $1.5 million, largely thanks to royalties from classic songs like Route 66 and the value of his Sherman Oaks home. Michael Norell as Captain Hank Stanley. Michael Alden Norell was born on October 4, 1937, in Wallace, Idaho. He became a familiar face to American television audiences through his role as Captain Hank Stanley in Emergency, 1972 to 1978, when he was 35 years old. His character was the calm, reliable leader in moments of life and death. But in real life, Michael faced many quiet struggles that few people ever knew about. After the initial success of Emergency, Michael Norell hoped his acting career would continue to soar. However, he soon realized he was typecast as the ideal commanding officer, making it difficult to escape the shadow of that iconic role. His efforts to break through in later projects, including The Incident, 1990, where he also served as a screenwriter and earned an Emmy nomination, weren't enough to bring him back into Hollywood's bright spotlight. The sense of failure in maintaining his fame left him with years of heavy regret over missed opportunities. Michael's personal life reflected some of those silent storms. His first marriage to Elizabeth Ingalson lasted nearly 2 decades before she passed away in 1983, leaving him with deep sorrow. Though he later remarried television writer Cynthia Cherback and had 2 children, Michael remained caught up in the pressures of work and his relentless drive to prove himself, which created invisible distances within his family. Writing became his sole refuge, though it couldn't fill the void left by an unfulfilled acting career. He created and produced projects like Aloha Paradise, 1981, but these efforts only offered brief moments in the limelight before fading again. Michael Norell passed away on May 12, 2023, in Huntington, Pennsylvania, at the age of 85, after many years spent far from the stage and screen. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at around $1 million, mainly from royalties on television scripts and the value of his home in Los Angeles. Tim Donnelly as fireman Chet Kelly. Timothy David Donnelly was born on September 3, 1944, in Los Angeles. He became a well-known actor to American TV audiences for his role as fireman Chet Kelly in Emergency when he was 28 years old. With his charm, humor, and dedication, Chet Kelly brought emotional balance to the life and death situations on the show. But in real life, Tim Donnelly faced many quiet struggles and personal tragedies that few ever saw. After the massive success of Emergency, Donnelly hoped to continue shining, but he quickly fell into the downward spiral of a declining career. Despite efforts to make a comeback with lead roles in Parts, The Clonus Horror, 1979, and The Toolbox Murders, 1978, directed by his brother, Tim couldn't escape the overwhelming shadow of Chet Kelly. His stalled career led him into depression, and alcoholism began to erode both his health and reputation. His marriage to Michelle McKay initially gave Tim hope for peace and stability. But his personal struggles, combined with career pressures and destructive habits, caused their marriage to fall apart. Their daughter, Ashley, remained his only anchor, though even that bond grew strained as he continued to battle for his health and name. In his final years, Donnelly lived a quieter life, stepping away from Hollywood and spending his time in a modest home in Los Angeles. His health declined significantly, leading to a fateful surgery. On September 17, 2021, Tim Donnelly died in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at the age of 77 due to complications following the procedure, closing the chapter on a turbulent life. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at about $800,000, mostly from his Los Angeles home and royalties from Emergency. William Bryant as Captain, Engine Number 16. William Bryant, born William Robert Klein, was born on January 31, 1924, in Detroit, Michigan. When he was 48 years old, he played the captain of engine number 16 in Emergency, 1972 to 1977, portraying a calm, commanding leader who brought a sense of security amid the show's dramatic scenes. But behind the scenes, Bryant's life was marked by quiet turmoil and hidden struggles. Before Emergency, Bryant had gained attention for lead roles in King Dinosaur, 1955, and Hondo, 1967, parts that had once been seen as breakout opportunities. However, his career repeatedly hit obstacles due to tensions behind the scenes. A major argument with a producer during the late 1970s on the set of Emergency landed Bryant on a temporary blacklist, stalling his rising career and making it difficult for him to secure roles worthy of his talent. His marriage to Patricia seemed to provide stability amid professional storms. But rumors of infidelity and his increasingly volatile temperament, fueled by severe depression, eventually fractured the relationship, leaving lasting scars within the family. His relationships with colleagues also grew tense, isolating him from the industry he once loved. Bryant had hoped to revive his career with a role in Battlestar Galactica, 1978, but that effort couldn't salvage a reputation overshadowed by scandal and setbacks. Poor investment choices in real estate and business ventures deepened his financial woes, forcing him to retreat to a modest home in Los Angeles, where he lived quietly in his final years. On June 26, 2001, William Bryant passed away at the age of 77 in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, after battling cancer. His net worth at the time was about $500,000, mainly from the value of his home and some residual royalties from his earlier TV work. Gary Crosby as Tom Wheeler. Gary Evan Crosby was born on June 27, 1933, in Los Angeles, the eldest son of legendary singer Bing Crosby and actress Dixie Lee. When he was 39 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1972, as Tom Wheeler, a warm, friendly character who brought a sense of familiarity to the show's tense moments. But in real life, Gary's life was filled with pain and inner conflict as he struggled under the overwhelming shadow of his famous father. From a young age, Gary lived in a household that was famous but fractured. In his memoir, Going My Own Way, 1983, he revealed the deep psychological scars of his childhood. Watching his mother sink into alcoholism and enduring harsh discipline and beatings from the father the world admired. These invisible pressures drove Gary early on to seek refuge in alcohol and drugs. Although he found some success with the musical group The Crosby Boys and roles in films like Mardi Gras, 1958, and Holiday for Lovers, 1959, he could never shake the haunting sense of inadequacy and frustration. Gary's marriages mirrored his inner turmoil. 3 failed marriages and notorious love affairs deepened his emotional wounds. The crushing weight of his family's fame, combined with a faltering career as his roles faded from the spotlight, pushed Gary into a cycle of self-destruction. His relationships with family grew increasingly strained, and public clashes with his siblings only further tarnished his image in the eyes of the public. In his later years, Gary all but disappeared from the entertainment world, living quietly in his Los Angeles home. His health rapidly declined due to the toll of his reckless lifestyle, and on August 24, 1995, Gary Crosby died of lung cancer at the age of 62. His net worth at the time was estimated at about $500,000, mainly from real estate and television royalties. Annetta Corsaut as Chuck's wife. Annetta Louise Corsaut was born on November 3, 1933, in Hutchinson, Kansas. When she was 41 years old, she appeared in Emergency, 1974, as Chuck's wife, portraying a graceful and resilient woman facing high-pressure situations. Though praised for her performance, Annetta soon faced challenges that kept both her career and personal life from shining as brightly as many had hoped. After her breakout success with The Blob, 1958, and as Helen Crump on The Andy Griffith Show, Annetta became trapped in typecasting, stuck in roles as kind, proper women, leaving her few chances to explore more complex characters. Her efforts to recapture her former glory through supporting roles in Matlock, 1991 to 1992, and The Blue Knight, 1975 to 1976, only underscored how out of place she felt in a changing Hollywood. Each role was an attempt to assert her worth, but none opened new doors, only preserving her memory in the hearts of loyal fans. Her personal life was not as peaceful as her on-screen image. Although the public knew little of her private affairs, rumors of a secret relationship with Andy Griffith during the Andy Griffith Show years followed her throughout her career. Annetta's guarded approach with the media only fueled speculation, adding to her sense of isolation and distance from colleagues and friends. Never married and without children, Annetta spent most of her later years quietly in her modest Los Angeles home. Her health declined sharply when cancer struck, and on November 6, 1995, she passed away at the age of 62, closing the chapter on a life lived quietly after the spotlight faded. Her net worth at the time was about $500,000, mostly from the value of her home. Ross Elliot as foreman. Ross Elliot, born Elliot Blum, was born on June 18, 1917, in the Bronx, New York. When he was 56 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1973, as foreman, embodying a calm, dependable man in the midst of emergencies. A seasoned character actor who appeared in over 200 television shows and dozens of films, Elliot had long been a familiar face to American audiences. But behind what seemed like a steady career were personal tragedies that cast a shadow over his later years. After his heyday with memorable roles such as Director Freddie in I Love Lucy and a minister in The Texan, 1958, Elliot's career stalled as his personal life unraveled. A scandalous affair that rocked the industry shattered his once solid marriage and tarnished his reputation. As a result, he was shut out of many major roles and slowly slipped from the stage that had defined nearly 4 decades of his life. In the years that followed, Elliot sank deeper into alcohol. Once seen as a way to relieve stress, it became a burden that cost him respect within the industry. Though he still appeared sporadically in shows like The $6 Million Man and Little House on the Prairie, these were small parts that could not revive his lost stardom. On August 12, 1999, Ross Elliot died of cancer at the age of 82. His net worth at the time was estimated at around $500,000, mostly from the value of his Los Angeles home. Frank Maxwell as Captain Number 110. Frank Maxwell, born Charles Francis Maxwell, was born on November 17, 1916, in the Bronx, New York. When he was 56 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1972, as Captain Number 110, bringing to life a calm, experienced, and resolute leader in high-stakes emergencies. However, his real life was far from as steady as the character he portrayed. Behind the spotlight lay marital turmoil, personal scandals, and a career that gradually faded. During the 1950s and 1960s, Maxwell's career reached its peak with roles in Perry Mason, Rawhide, The Twilight Zone, and Felony Squad, while he appeared to build a happy family with his first wife and 3 children. But the demands of his career and the pressure of fame began to erode that stability. By the late 1960s, his first marriage ended bitterly after a widely publicized affair with a young actress came to light. The scandal not only destroyed his marriage but also dealt a heavy blow to his public image and standing among colleagues. In the 1970s, although he still secured key roles in Emergency and General Hospital, Maxwell's career began to stall as major producers increasingly distanced themselves from him. Ongoing controversies over his private life, along with rumors of further affairs during his time on General Hospital, further tarnished his reputation. His attempt to find stability through a second marriage also fell apart, as past wounds never fully healed, leaving him to grapple with a fading career and growing loneliness. Beyond his failed marriages, Maxwell struggled financially due to unsuccessful real estate and business investments. In his later years, he lived quietly in his Los Angeles home, the last major asset he retained after a series of setbacks. Despite once serving as president of AFTRA, 1984 to 1989, and holding influence in the industry, it wasn't enough to restore his once bright image or career. Frank Maxwell died on August 4, 2004 in Santa Monica at the age of 87 from heart failure. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at about $500,000, mostly from the value of his Los Angeles home. Hal Baylor as animal trainer and foreman. Hal Baylor, born Hal Harvey Fieberling, was born on December 10, 1918 in San Antonio, Texas. When he was 54 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1972, as animal trainer foreman, portraying a tough character that mirrored his own real-life persona. Behind his strong screen presence and hundreds of film appearances was a life marked by controversy, family turmoil, and personal missteps that overshadowed the legacy of a man once seen as an icon of on-screen villains. Before entering Hollywood, Baylor was a professional boxer with a record of 16-8-3, though many noted he never took the ring seriously. After World War II, he transitioned to acting and made a mark with his role as a boxer in The Setup, 1949, where he and Robert Ryan delivered one of cinema's most realistic boxing scenes. But the fiery temper that had helped him survive in the ring became an obstacle in his acting career. He frequently clashed with directors and colleagues and was even removed from major projects due to his difficult nature. Baylor's personal life was equally tumultuous. He married 3 times, first to Jacqueline Anstey in 1940, a marriage that ended in just 2 years and left behind a son and disputes over custody. In 1943, while still in military service, he married Margaret Jean McLean, with whom he had a daughter, though their relationship was strained as Baylor was seen as overly strict and distant. His third marriage, to Shirley Hickey in 1965, brought hopes of peace, but rumors of shady business dealings and financial disputes created ongoing tension. Despite memorable roles in films like Sands of Iwo Jima, 1949, and Cornbread, Earl and Me, 1975, Baylor's career faded as producers no longer wanted to work with him. In his final years, he lived quietly in his Los Angeles home, his only remaining significant asset after failed investments. Hal Baylor died on January 15, 1998, at the age of 79 due to age-related illnesses, leaving behind a net worth of about $500,000. Stephen Marlo as Old Man 87. Stephen Marlo, born Morris Miller, was born on July 13, 1927, in San Francisco, California. When he was 46 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1973, as Old Man 87, leaving an impression as a seasoned, sharp, and tough character, the type he was known for playing in dozens of roles as villains, gangsters, or con men. But in real life, Marlo's journey was a series of ups and downs, marked by personal hardships and bitter failures that left him largely forgotten by the entertainment world. After a difficult start, working as a cab driver and dishwasher while chasing his acting dreams, Marlo found some success with roles in The Young Captives, 1959, and Terror in the Wax Museum, 1973. He became a familiar face in films and TV series such as Land of the Giants, Death Valley Days, and A Piece of the Action, often cast as henchmen, cops, or shady figures. But behind what seemed like a steady career lay a volatile temper and struggles with alcohol and gambling, which eventually led producers to keep their distance. Marlo's personal life was no smoother. His only marriage, to Cindy Marlo, ended in divorce after years of conflict, leaving 2 children caught in the family's tensions. His later relationships were short-lived and troubled. By the 1980s, as his career collapsed, Marlo faced bankruptcy due to gambling losses and poor financial decisions, forcing him to retreat into a quiet life in a modest Los Angeles home, the last significant asset he owned. Stephen Marlo died on November 7, 2019 in Marysville, Washington, at the age of 92. The cause of death was not publicly disclosed. His net worth at the time was estimated at about $400,000, mainly from the home he held onto in his final years. Virginia Gregg as Wilma Jacobs, R.N. Virginia Gregg was born on March 6, 1916, in Harrisburg, Illinois. When she was 56 years old, she appeared in Emergency, 1972, as Nurse Wilma Jacobs, portraying a character who was both warm and authoritative, representing compassion and discipline in the hospital setting. Yet behind that facade of success, Gregg's life was filled with silent struggles and personal upheaval. She married producer Jaime Del Valle in 1947, some sources say 1948, and had 3 children. What seemed like a peaceful home life turned out to be otherwise, as the marriage ended in 1959 after more than a decade marked by tension and quiet fractures. The divorce left Gregg with deep personal pain and contributed to a growing sense of loneliness as she increasingly withdrew in her later years. Gregg's career, admired for roles such as the chilling voice of Mrs. Bates in Psycho, 1960, and powerful characters in Dragnet and The Waltons, was impacted by her perfectionism, which sometimes became severe, and by periods of depression that she kept hidden. Her working relationships grew strained as she became more demanding on set, and major roles became harder to secure as the industry gradually closed its doors to her. In her later years, Gregg devoted much of her time to charity work through Recording for the Blind, but isolation and declining health left her living quietly. On September 15, 1986, Virginia Gregg died of lung cancer in Encino, California, at the age of 70. Her net worth at the time was estimated at around $300,000, mainly from her Los Angeles home. William Boyette as Chief Mechanic, Battalion 14. William Boyette was born on January 3, 1927, in Akron, Ohio. When he was 49 years old, he appeared in Emergency, 1976, as Chief Mechanic of L.A. County Fire Department's Battalion 14. With his firm voice and commanding presence, Boyette brought to life the image of an exemplary leader on screen. But off-screen, his life was marked by sadness and personal struggles. Before his Hollywood career, Boyette served in the U.S. Navy during World War II and later started acting on stage in New York and Los Angeles. He became known for playing uniformed officers in series like Highway Patrol, Dragnet, and Adam 12. Despite a steady career, Boyette's shine faded as he battled alcoholism, leading to incidents on set that cost him opportunities in major projects. Boyette's personal life was also turbulent. A failed marriage created lasting distance with his children. Although he played serious, respected men on screen, in real life, he withdrew into solitude as he grew older. His health declined in his final years due to pneumonia and kidney failure, and he spent his last days quietly at his Los Angeles home, his main asset at the time of his death. William Boyette passed away on December 29, 2004, just days before his 78th birthday. His net worth was estimated at about $600,000. He left behind the legacy of a veteran actor who contributed to American television and a reminder of the hidden struggles behind fame. Kevin Tighe as Roy DeSoto. Kevin Tighe was born on August 13, 1944, in Los Angeles, California. When he was 28 years old, he rose to fame as Roy DeSoto in Emergency, becoming the small screen's model of a dedicated firefighter-paramedic. The role not only catapulted him to stardom, but also tied his name to the rise of America's emergency medical services system. Yet behind that strong image was a career journey full of challenges and personal twists. After Emergency ended in 1977, Tighe struggled with the massive shadow of Roy DeSoto, often typecast and limited in opportunities to showcase his range as an actor. Though admired for that role, it partly restricted his career growth. He worked hard to prove his versatility in Roadhouse, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Lost, and in theater productions like Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo and Curse of the Starving Class. His perseverance helped him maintain a career spanning over 50 years, even if he didn't always stay in the brightest spotlight. In his personal life, Tighe's first marriage to Mary Lou Seaman ended in divorce, though they had one daughter, Jennifer Tighe, with whom he later shared the stage in A Reckoning. He eventually found peace with his second wife, artist Rebecca Fletcher. Together, they built a quiet life in Skagit County, Washington, where Tighe prioritized family and art over chaos. Although there were rumors of family, for the most part, Tighe's personal life private and steady. By 2025, Kevin Tighe's net worth was estimated at about $2.5 million, thanks largely to royalties from Emergency, his film and television roles, and stage work. At age 81, he continued to pursue acting, leaving a mark not only through Roy DeSoto but as an artist who constantly reinvented himself in the ever-changing world of performance. The journey of the Emergency? Stars left unforgettable emotions in our hearts, even as their lights were dimmed by heartbreaking personal struggles. Which actor from Emergency left the deepest impression on you? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and share to honor these legends.